good morning to the Americas. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Libby Kemkaran. Libby is a peak performance neurocoach and a flow consultant. Now, that is very intriguing to me, and I want to know a lot more about it. So that's what we are going to discover as well. Libby, let's start with introducing yourself. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself and what exactly you do?
Hello, Madeline. Thank you for having me. Lovely to be here. I am indeed a flow consultant. It's a word that people don't really know precisely what it means sometimes. There's a brilliant book about the subject. If anyone wants a fantastic read for bedtime, it's called The Psychology of Optimal Experience. And flow is really all about that. It's about this piece of we can live however we like, but why not live in a way that feels like ease and grace rather than wading through treacle?
Yes, please.
So it's all about getting to that point where life feels glorious, that effortless effort, that feeling when you get to the top of the ski slope and you just go, but you're within that zone where your challenge meets your skill set. Because if we operate in a place where our skill set is too low for the challenge given to us, we live in anxiety. If we operate from a place where our skill set is too high for the challenge given to us, we live in boredom. And so it's finding that flow zone right in the middle, that sweet spot, that glory place. And that's all about how we get to peak performance, because when you're in flow, everything smooths out for you. So that's what I live for.
Yes, okay. That's how you help people with.
Yes. So my methods are using the brain to work with you, not against you. So I'm a neurocoach, and what that means is using your wiring in a way that serves you, because your brain can be your best friend or your worst enemy. And there's a choice. Again, with that, there's a choice of how you operate. Depends entirely on what your brain wiring is doing. So we fiddle with your brain and we mess with the limiting beliefs that are sometimes so deeply wired in there we forget they're there. And so we get in there and take out those belief systems that are not serving you and replace them with healthier ones.
Okay.
So that's it in a nutshell.
Okay, yeah, and bringing us on our flow. Yeah, I mean, when you explained that, with the challenge and skills and so on, and I think I did that curve curve or straight line, and I think I published it even sometime because I came across it and I thought it was really, really interesting.
Oh, so good, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I haven't read that book yet, but I'm probably going to order it. So
really
I ask you.
It's there's three sort of minds that we need to be aware of. One is the metaphysical mind, and it's really important to understand this emotion drives motion piece, because I think we forget. We like to believe that we're this rational thinking human. We like to think we're so clever, but actually that part of our brain is sat in the passenger seat next to our chimp brain that's gripping the wheel firmly and furiously driving towards whatever feeling has come up for us today. And we're driven by feeling, and what we tend to do is we buy what we want and then we logisticize it and make it rational after the event. We buy with our heart, with our gut, and then our thinking brain kicks in and goes, oh, well, we better find a really good reason for just having spent several £1,000s on that. And so we are always steered first by this metaphysical brain. And so this emotion drives motion is such a important construct to get our heads around. And especially as coaches, we need to really remember that for our clients as well, right? Because we all see our clients do actions and then go, why did I do that? I didn't want to do that. But yeah, you did secretly, because your subconscious did. And so you did.
Exactly.
So that's the sort of the first brain. The second brain for me is the Millionaire Mindset. That's another classic book. Actually, look, I've got that one here as well. I've just been teaching a masterclass yesterday. So this one I love.
And this one is the one that started everything for me, indeed.
It's so amazing, isn't it? And so if anyone hasn't read that, go and buy that one. It's really awesome. But it's all about this. You have a choice. Don't believe a thought you think. Think better ones. You can very consciously choose your thoughts. And thoughts are like buses. Over here in London, we've got the big classic red bus with the number on the front, and the number tells you where it's going. And if you don't want that destination for you, don't get on board. Like literally pat it on the head and let it go by. But you don't have to get on board with every thought that races into your head, because it's just, thoughts are biochemical events. They're a series of chemistry. and we are a seething mass of biochemistry. And when we really understand that, we can begin to choose and notice a thought as it comes in and go, does that serve me? Does that get me closer to my goal or further from? Which is it? And then get on board with it or don't. But deliberately putting in the thoughts that you want to think every day is really important. So that's your millionaire mind. And then my other favorite is this strategic mind, that how do I build the habits that I want every day? And so I work with my clients in all three of those pockets, if you like, starting much with the metaphysical, because mindset is everything, right? Mindset is everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, completely agree. And I mean, I saw statistics as well on the number of thoughts that we think every day. And some said 6,000 and some said like 60,000.
Yeah.
And then there were other statistics saying that 80% of that is repetitive.
Yes.
It's not, at the end of the day, it's not 6,000. It's maybe, I don't know, 1,000
that you get in a loop. And
exactly.
And this is where your brain can use up your resources, when we call it open loops, where the ideal is that we move from idea to action, then to completion, and then acknowledgement. And it's only at completion and acknowledgement we get the payback of the energetic cost of those first two pieces. But our brain is 2% of body mass, but it's responsible for 20% of our energy budget. And that tells you just what a drain it is when you get stuck in that loop. And if you haven't gone anywhere apart from idea, and you haven't actioned it, and then you haven't completed it, and you haven't acknowledged yourself, and this is what we call the neuropsychology of success. When you learn how to close those loops repeatedly, you begin to be hardwired to be successful, because your brain loves the dopamine hit that it gets at the end of that, and it goes, more of that, please. And you begin to move towards the goals so much faster and so much cleaner. And this is where life begins to feel easy, is when your brain knows what it's doing, and it just moves you there, and it starts to step you towards your successes for you. And that's when it becomes your best friend.
Yeah, I agree. And we also should celebrate our successes, when this loop that you're talking about. That's why we need small successes and celebrate every time, so that it reinforces it as well, right?
Yeah, and that's twofold. And I'm sure you know this already, Madeline, but gratitude has got such a huge effect on your neurology. So there's two ways of celebrating. One is celebrating before it's already happened, which sounds bizarre, but when we act as if, our brain knows no difference between our memory of us yesterday and our vision of us in 3 years' time. Neurologically, they carry the same weight. And so when we deliberately, and again, this is about choosing your thoughts, right? When we very consciously begin to move towards a success, and then we start acting as if, and we start celebrating as if it's already happened, and yesing, as we call it, the brain goes, oh, wait, hold on, have I missed something? We should be over there. Okay, right. And it literally builds train tracks towards it, and it moves you there. It starts stepping you towards it. So that's one angle. But yeah, the other part is celebrating everything, no matter how tiny. So having gratitude for the smallest piece of the puzzle. There's a video about this on my YouTube channel. If anyone wants to look, it's just Dr. Libby Kemkaran, and it's called Hep Gecko. It's an exercise that I run every day of my life. And it's a series of questions you ask yourself every morning. I do this the minute I open my eyes, and it's like, what am I happy about? What am I excited about? What am I proud of? And it can be something really tiny, guys. It can be literally, I made it through yesterday without shouting at anyone. Well done, me. Go me. But sometimes I've got a billion children. They're everywhere. And sometimes just getting through a day without hollering at somebody so my throat hurts, win. But you have to find your little, and during lockdown, even worse. But you have to find these tiny little incremental gains, because as soon as it becomes a habit to look for the good, your brain starts spotting it for you. Again, you're setting your filters. Your reticular activating system is so powerful, and it screens your environment around. Because we have so many thoughts, we haven't got time. So it screens out what's extraneous information that we don't need. And so this is the phenomenon of where, when you buy a new car and you suddenly see it everywhere on the roads around you. And was that car there all along? Yeah, of course it was. Did you notice it? No, because it wasn't relevant. So your RAS is just taking it out of the picture for you, because we've got all of this other activity crazily going on at the same time. So we have to find a way of filtering out. So as soon as we then start deliberately filtering in the good, because what's good is always there, right? Same as what's bad is always there. But as soon as we start consciously looking for it, we begin to get really powerful in our neurology, and your brain then starts showing you more of the same.
Yeah. So I mean, I completely agree. And I do every evening. For you, it's in the morning. For me, it's in the evening. I've got this journal next to my bed, and
Lovely.
I write what I'm grateful for. And also, there are indicators that I track, whether I did sport that day and whether I did this or that,
Oh,
just
brilliant.
tracking my habits as well. So this is something, those questions, you ask them every morning.
Yeah, so Hep-Gecko is just a way of remembering what to ask, but I get my clients to write it literally on a post-it note and stick it next to their bed or on the mirror when you're brushing your
Okay.
teeth. So it's like it's what we call habit stacking, when you
Yes.
link one thing to another thing, and then you're more likely to do that thing that you really want to do. So things that are perhaps not things that you want to do, like Kegel exercise, or things that are the things that we should do, because we never do our shoulds, right? We do our musts. So we have our musts drilled into us, but we can should all over ourselves, as Tony Robbins says. But those shoulds get sort of left by the wayside. So when you link a should to a must, it's more likely to happen. And so habit stacking is a great little tip for people wanting to, really accelerate their good habits, because it's our daily virtues that link. I don't know if you've seen the ethical leadership model. I teach this in companies. It's a really powerful model with the 4 V's, where you link your vision to your values and to your voice, and all those coalesce into your daily virtues. And the daily virtues are how you play out those items in that triangle every day of your life, every day. And by living into your values, your business becomes really solid, because it becomes undeniably you as well, which makes you very much more vital than functional, and very much more an essential for people, not just an option. When your business resonates to the values that you hold dear, and those things that you really count on, people can see that. I think that comes across as congruence, doesn't it?
Yeah, completely. No, I fully agree again with you. And looking at values is something that I do with my clients at the beginning as well,
Yes.
together with mindset, because it's so important that our business reflects our values.
Yeah, it's a foundation layer, isn't it? It's like
Yeah,
the walls grow wonky if your foundations aren't solid, and that's mindset, that's values, that's beliefs. And once you line those up along with your daily virtues, it starts to grow, and it starts to just take on its own life force, and it's just beautiful to watch it.
yeah. Okay, so it's, I mean, we could talk about that for hours, I'm sure, and you're so passionate about it.
Yeah, I get a bit
So,
table thumpy. I get a bit like overexcited when it comes to the mind.
yeah, no, it's perfect. So tell us a bit more about your clients. Who are they? Who do
So
you work with?
I work with people that are looking to escape the 9 to 5, to build themselves a business that is theirs, that sits with them. It's not a business in a box that I offer. It's not a get rich quick. It is a business that is intrinsically you, and one that frees you. A lot of my clients have busy family lives. A lot of them have other things going on. Some just want a side hustle, but the key thing is they want it to be online. They want it to be digital. They want to work in a way like this across the internet, across country boundaries. I've got clients all around the world. I've got people from Peru and from New Zealand and from Hong Kong. I work all the time zones to fit around their lifestyles sometimes. But I also have people attend my courses at times like 3 a.m, where they set an alarm and wake up to be there. It's fantastic. But the way that I serve is by helping them work with their brain. So my program is called TAME Your Brain. And those are 4 steps in a way of getting in charge, getting to boss your brain, so that you're working with it, not against it, and to get it doing what you want. And most of the time, we're so driven by our subconscious, we don't know where we're
We
being
don't
led.
realize it.
We haven't got a clue a lot of the time. And there's almost like 4 parts to your brain. And once you understand which brain type is dominant for you, and we use all of them, all of them. So I've got these big cats as my brain icons. And so if you're more tiger brain, for example, you're very data, you're very driven by analysis, you're very risk averse. People might see you as negative. You're not. You just don't want to waste time or money. So you are cautious. You play by the rules, and you're more processed than people. That's completely opposite than if you're a lion brain, where you've got the arm around the shoulder, you're always there at the leaving drinks, organising the baby showers. You're all about that people over process, and you want to work with people. And you probably talk all day for a job, and then you'll go out and talk about it in a bar, and then you'll go at night and talk to your ever-loving partner, who's probably a tiger, and just going, can you shut up now, please? And so if you're more of that lion brain, you've got a completely different extrovert way of looking at the world than if you're a tiger. And if you're a cheetah brain and you're at that 70 miles an hour stop, 3 brilliant ideas in the shower every morning, of which you follow through precisely none of them because you've got distracted by a bright shiny penny and you're off over here. And so you've got all the plans and you get the next big idea is the most exciting one, and that old one, oh yeah, no one helped me with it, so I've let that one go. And so you've got that intense desire for that speed and that innovation and that significance of your idea becoming a big thing, but the granularity to follow it through isn't your forte. Whereas if you're a leopard brain, that's what you do, that's where you live in that detail and that process, because you're all about connection, consistency and context. And so you're very kinesthetic and you just feel when something's right. You won't come up with the ideas, but you can damn well make them happen. So those leopard brains are really powerful working with a cheetah brain, but each looks at the other with a bit like, is that how you do it? Like, is that really? Because they're so very different. So depending on what brain type you are, you can recognize yourself in there, Madeline, if that's...
Yes, I mean, that's how we met, Libby, because the first time I saw you, you were explaining your model with all the 4 animals.
Brilliant.
And I did the test, and I was a cheetah.
Cheetah.
Yeah, exactly. So I probably need a leopard somewhere to help me. Just
cheetah brains are
my cheetah brain.
They're brilliant at being in the forefront at the spring of a business phase. They're great at innovation. What they need help with is moving around to summer, autumn and winter, which is where you begin to make a business legitimate and sustainable. And so cheetah brains are great at the start of a business, but they must start bringing in a team as quickly as possible, ideally, and I say to my clients, between month 3 and 6, because otherwise you'll burn out and you will get bored with it. And it starts becoming painful to you. So you start going into avoidance behaviors. And that's when you stop showing up. And that's when you stop, because it isn't fun anymore unless you've got help. And so for big cheetahs, they need a lion heart to move it into the glow phase of bringing the people. Then they need a leopard heart to bring it into that, okay, let's start to systemize. Because that's not what cheetahs love. They don't want a system around them because it constrains them. But the leopards will do it with love, and they'll bring that in around them and then hand it over to a tiger who makes it law and then makes it, no, you will do it this way. And that's the winter when a cheetah goes, oh, but by then they've already moved on to the next product, so it gets exciting. Yes.
So you're saying that when I'm going to recruit my team of helpers, then I have to get them to answer the questionnaire that I did with you.
Yes, definitely. I recommend it.
And so that I need to select one of each.
Yes. And I profile everyone before I bring them into my business. I profiled my boyfriend when I met him online dating. I insisted he profiled.
Seriously?
Yes. I'm not kidding. It's so important. Once you know how powerful this stuff is, you start applying. I profiled all my kids. It's brilliant. But you start to realize how much we ignore these. We blame ourselves, right? It's like a school report where it says, you're rubbish at maths, do more maths. And so we look at what we can't do. We never live into our strengths, right? Because being a cheetah is hugely powerful. But what you probably do, as I do as a cheetah, is go, damn it, I haven't followed up on that thing. I haven't done that client. I haven't finished that spreadsheet. Oh, they wanted my biography for this speaking engagement. I haven't done that yet. And you beat yourself up with what you haven't done. And I've evolved now to the point where I go, do you know what? I'm just going to recruit a really good VA and she's going to do all that stuff. And it's amazing when you free yourself from expecting to be perfect in all the things. And when you start to live into your flow and you start to follow your flow, guess what? Fortune follows flow. And people start throwing money at you because you begin to be really valued, because flow is about what you can be valued to do and what you can be trusted to do. So I can be trusted to coach someone really well. Do not trust me with a spreadsheet, and do not trust me with a deadline, because I'm so much more about the people than I am about the process. I blow through deadlines all day long, unfortunately, but I'm really good at managing someone and holding them with love until they move through something traumatic to the other side. That's my job. That's what I'm on this earth for. That's my superpower. And once you live into your superpowers, everything changes. Everything becomes, I describe it as living with grace and ease rather than wading through treacle. And it is, and I've had people cry on me when they do the profile and they go, I did a PhD to prove I was good at spreadsheets. And I'm like, love, let it go. Just move on. And they just go, oh. And yeah, so to find, in answer to your question, yes, Madeline, to find the perfect team for you, you put your finger on where your profile type is. So I'm guessing you came out as either creator or star.
Creator, I think.
Yeah. So from creator, you count round to the right 2 places And that brings you to supporter. So that's someone that does all the loving and the nurturing and the arm around the shoulders and the cheerleading, and also the star, the pointing the way. So round that end, you want either a supporter or a deal maker, someone who does the negotiation, someone who does the brokerage and frees you up to be that innovator. And then you count around 3 places from that one. So from supporter, you go deal maker, trader, accumulator. So an accumulator is like the safest pair of hands in the room. They're the best ambassador, and they are all about timing, and they're like the beat of the drum, backing you up, and they pick up things you'll have stepped over and missed because you're head in the clouds and creating the next big thing. They'll be like, no, we haven't finished this thing. And so someone in that position, either accumulator or lord, would back you up on that steely edge, that more tiger brain of that.
I do need a VA. My God.
That's what you need. So yeah, profile them.
Yes. Okay. Oh, got to think about that one. Yeah.
It's an investment, right? But to hire the wrong person is a much worse investment. And if you look at it as like, but what happens if I spend that money and they leave? Yeah, but what happens if you spend that money, if you don't spend the money and they don't leave and you're stuck with someone that's wrong? That's the worst scenario by far. And so getting the right fit into the right chair is such an important thing for an entrepreneur on the growth pathway. You know, if we look at it as a takeoff, and before you get to that straight and level flying part, you're throwing a lot of metal in the air with a great amount of force to try and get to straight and level flying. And part of that is your team. It's so important.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I already have things to think about just by chatting with you today. So tell us a bit more about you, Libby. What's your story? So how you said to me before that, you know, it was kind of organic the way your business evolved. So how did you come to doing what you're doing now? What brought you there? What was your journey?
My journey was helped along by the fact that it totally was taken out of my hands. And I used to be a vet, which is very bizarre, but I worked as a vet very happily. I was very content as a vet. I'd qualified as a mature student, so I really valued it, and I worked really hard to qualify to be a vet, because the sort of degree that you need to be a vet is a medical one, and that's a very, very tiger brain, and I'm not at all tiger brain, as I'm sure you've realised. And so it took a lot of effort. But this is the thing about flow, is everyone can do everything around that grid. It's just about how much it drains you. So I could put myself into that zone. My client could do a PhD, but you end up exhausted at the end of it rather than energized when you're working against your flow. So I did it. I got my vet degree. I loved working as a vet because to me it was all about the people attached to the animals, and obviously helping fluffy kittens is brilliant. But then I was coming home one night, and it was a really dark, misty night. It's November the 2nd. I still remember what song was playing on the radio, and I just stopped at a temporary traffic light that had been put up to do some roadworks, and it was 7 p.m. It was pitch black, and I was sort of sitting there looking around and just listening, and then suddenly out the back end I got hit at full speed by a car that hadn't known the traffic lights were there. And that moment changed my life completely, because it damaged C2 to C6 in my neck, and I couldn't do surgery ever again. And so I suddenly was in this position where I'd worked so hard for this degree and to be this vet, and I'd only been a vet for 5 years, and suddenly I couldn't do it anymore. And so I had to get creative. I had to, and again, nothing has any meaning other than the meaning you give it, right?
Yeah.
And I could have given that the meaning of the universe hates me. Why has this happened to me? But the quality of your life is defined by the questions you ask yourself. So I changed my question to, what meaning could I give this if I want? What can I learn from this? What am I good at? What am I actually good at? What is it that I do? Not the surgery, but what is it that I do when I'm a vet? And I dug deeper, and I realized actually I was still doing a version of my old career, which was a consultant in the city. I was still consulting with people, but what I was brokering with them was the surgical treatment for their animal, the medical decisions for their animal, but I was still consulting. And so I looked at my old life, which was management consultant, business consultant. I looked at my new life, which was, okay, what can I do now? And I started to help vets grow their businesses. So I started very organically, just helping vets that wanted to open a practice, for example, vets that wanted to double their income to 2 million rather than 1 million in a practice. I started helping them and building their businesses with them. And I built up this stable of clients. And then I realized as I was doing this and I was delivering this business training, and they were blindsided by some of the stuff I was teaching them, because it's all very common in the city. Things like profiling is really common in the city. It just hadn't reached their world yet. And I thought, who else could I help? Because my primary question is always, how can I make this better? How can I help? And I realized one of the biggest markets out there is entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants that want to build a business but don't know where to start. But they know they've got a gift. They know they've got something to say to the world. They know they've got some way of serving. And so I started to help them. And along the way, guess what happened? Coronavirus happened. Again, what question did I choose to ask at that point? I could have been, why me? But I changed my business model instead. So I went from being entirely, I used to go to a posh hotel for 2 days. I had my platinum group that would come away with me, and we'd live in the hotel for 2 days in the boardroom during the day and drinking heavily at night, and then using the spa facilities whilst I taught them all about business. And they were on like a 2-year journey with me. So it was a 2-year program that I was running at the time. And I just converted that to an online model. So I now serve entrepreneurs, coaches and consultants around the world. I've got people in Peru, Hong Kong, America, Australia, New Zealand. It doesn't matter where you live. What matters is, can you be awake at the time that I'm training you? And I now run masterminds for people around the world. And so everything that I do is based on this weird series of events that happened that forced me to change. Because sometimes we have to be forced to pop into that chrysalis to pop out the other side, right? And, and the events conspired to make me where I am now. So I train big companies remotely as well. I'm an external consultant for Merck Pharmaceutical, fourth largest big pharma in the world, and I train their teams around the world. And I train small, brand new entrepreneurs, and I train medium-sized businesses when they want to get to that next level, all using this power of flow and neurocoaching to help them get their neurology in line, and then applying bulletproof strategy. Because to grow a business to 6 figures, you have to do certain things at a certain time. And one of those is knowing when to scale. And that's the bit people usually get a bit stuck at, because the thinking that gets you where you are today is not the thinking that helps you turn the corner and get to the next level. And every level you go to, new level, new devil, right? New turn.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So you train them and you coach them. You said you've got this mastermind. So how long do people typically work with you when they are like coaches, entrepreneurs?
It depends. If they want fast success, then they will come on an intensive accelerator with me. That's a 3-month program where we work once a week, every week for an hour, bang, bang, bang. And you get your tasks to do for that week. You go back and do them, and then you come to me the next week. That's the fastest way. But most people come into my group program first, which is called TAME Your Brain, to build your business. That's a 7-week journey where you get support in a group environment, but it's a very intimate group. There's a maximum of 10 people on every course for a reason, so that I can make sure I'm supporting them as much. And that TAME Your Brain program is all of the things that I do with my one-to-one clients, but delivered in a group setting. But the benefit of that is you get a cohort around you that are traveling the same path with you. And so you've got other colleagues to sort of bounce off as well, which is lovely. And so after that, I offer that group their own mastermind to go through the next year with me. And that gives them touching points twice a month with me personally, but also they're in the same group. And so I do Facebook coaching in there as well. So that then holds them nice and safe for then ongoing. And then once businesses get to a certain level, once they're usually at year 2 to 3, I open up the TAME Your Brain Academy, which is a 2-year program that they can work through with me, which is about accelerating and scaling. So there's different layers to come in at depending where you are.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And the choice between group and individual, working in group or individually with you.
Obviously it's more cost effective to come in at the group level. For most people, that's where they start. But some people just go, I need your help. Come on in. And I will work as almost a partner in your business. And I've actually been very flatteringly been invited to be a director of 2 businesses along the way, as it's just evolved again, as people utilize my methods and see the growth and, want to hold me in for a longer partnership.
Okay, great. Yeah. I can see that time is really going so fast. It's already like half an hour. So, but I don't want to stop just yet. Okay. One of the questions that I generally ask my guests as well is, what would be like 2-3 tips that you could give our audience who are in the situation that, you know, people are when they contact you? How do they get started? How do they get to build that business that fits them exactly? So do you have anything you could, any
Definitely.
tips you
My
could give?
absolute favorite place to start with people is know your outcome. Know what you're working towards, because it's not enough to say, I just want to earn money. It's not enough to say, I just want to earn more money. You've got to know really precisely, where are you going? Because that pilot that takes off in a plane is off course 98% of the time they're in the air, but they land. Why? Because they course correct. And how do you know how to correct if you don't know where you're going? You must know your outcome before you start anything else. Second, you must know the first step of my TAME Your Brain program, the T stands for terrain. You must know where you're standing now before you can set your GPS, before you can set your flight plan. So you must get blinding clarity on the ground beneath your feet. And that's twofold. It's to understand, firstly, okay, where am I beginning? And you've got to see it as it is, not better than it is and not worse than it is. You have to give yourself some grace, stop beating yourself up, and be kind, firstly, to yourself, because that allows you to try. Because if you're talking to yourself like a bad parent or a bad friend, like, we say most dreadful things to ourselves that we'd never say to other people.
Yeah,
Right? It's so toxic, and it starts so simply. You just start with a little bit of like and getting angry at yourself because you haven't done something, and then you begin to get a bit disdainful of yourself, and then you begin to be really quite aggressive. And what we need to do is recognize where we are on that scale. The best way to do that is some mirror work. Literally look at your eyes in the mirror. They're the same eyes that you had when you were 9 years old, and talk to yourself like you're 9, and give yourself the love that you needed when you were 9. Most of us form our model of the world between the age of 6 and 9, roughly 6 to 8 for females and 7 to 9 for boys. And when we form that model, it's usually on one incident. It's usually one thing happens that makes you believe something negative about yourself. So you usually have a reference incident that it's like legs holding up a tabletop. Any belief system is held up by several initiating incidents, but there's usually one that you can remember. And it usually starts a narrative that has you say a certain phrase to yourself that's negative. And when you can identify what that is, and I do some closed eye work and some timeline regression therapy with clients that I work with that have got stuck, because usually when we go back, there is one thing that's holding them stuck. And so we just have to dig into that and find out what it is, and then go and talk to yourself in the mirror about that and say what the grown-up you needs to say to that little baby face. And sometimes that can create enough switching in your subconscious to do some really powerful maneuvering. So that's one part of terrain. The other part of terrain is understand your value. And that comes twofold. That's knowing your values. What matters to you? What's really important to you? And also, what value do you bring to the world? Because fortune follows flow. And what you can be valued for is what people will usually pay you for. What's your superpower? What do you do really well? And so that's the next piece, is to really dig deep and find out, how do you serve? Because I'm a bit old fashioned. I believe we have to serve. We have to do it with honor. We're not here for a get rich quick. We're not here to just rip money off people. We're supposed to give. We're not supposed to be just a consumer that takes. We're supposed to be part of the pathway of giving something. So what is it that you've got to share with the world? What magic do you bring to the world? And once you've identified that, you're ready. Then you're ready to start working on your strategy. There is no point having the best strategy in the world. You will not do it unless you've got those core foundational pieces built first. And that's where I built my TAME Your Brain course, was to pocket that into one program, so that I can say to people, start here, just start. Just start getting used to understanding your value in the world, and knowing what it is that you've got to give, because that's the glory. That's when you can serve with honor and do it with love, and suddenly it becomes easy.
Yeah, beautiful. Oh, thank you so much.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for your advice, for the passion that you brought to our interview. And it's fascinating, and I'm sure we could have talked for an hour instead of half an hour, but well, time is limited. I'm so grateful for you, Libby, to have been my guest today. Thank you so much. I will put links.
Yes.
So I'll get the links from you, and I put the links to for people to get to know more about you, for your YouTube channel, and for people to reach out to you,
Thank
to
you.
work
And I
with you as
offer
well.
a free discovery call if people want to talk more. The first contact with me is always free for people. We have to find out if we're a fit, right? And so that's done on a completely free basis, and we can black through and see if we're a good match if you want to work. I am fully booked at the moment, but I have got spaces coming up in July for both. My course runs again from July the 20th, I think we start, and one-to-one work. So yeah, get in touch.
Great. So I put all those links for people to get in touch with you directly. And thank you. Thanks again for being here today, my guest. And thank you all for watching. See you soon with a next episode. Thank you very much.